Sponsor an orphan, and you'll help support a vulnerable child to have the education they've always dreamed of, so they can build a brighter future. You'll be feeding a hungry stomach and a hungry mind with knowledge that will last them a lifetime. That's the power of an education. Sponsor an orphan now with Islamic Relief.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everybody. This is Preacher Moss, your brother, host of the SOS, the Shout Out Show. Hey, listen, check this out. You can see the overlay. I'm shouting out, of course, a presentation that we're going to have out in Detroit, December the 17th, actually Dearborn. It's called It Sounded Funny at the Time. This is Preacher Moss revisiting a bit of a comedy special, working on new material. I got a new band. However, I will be bringing back Brother Taurus Mateen and Brother Leon Alexander Jr. We're just going to bring in a couple more musicians. It won't be on this show, but, you know, you're working the concept out. And I also want to give a shout out to Brother Taurus Mateen, who I met up with in Orlando after Juma. Hadn't seen Taurus in a minute, definitely since the pandemic. We connected. We drove all the way out to Tampa and back and just hanging out, talking music and jazz. And Taurus, thank you so much for that. And actually, I got to see, he doesn't brag much. I got to see the plaque on his wall that he was the 2015 Downbeat Electric Bassist of the Year. So got a bad man there, brothers and sisters. I had a bad man in my band. So that's number one. Number two, I want to give a shout out to those who are not feeling well. We have Sister Maxine Cade, my aunt, not feeling well. My cousin not feeling well. The flu is going around, people. So please be very, very careful. The flu is going around. I don't normally get flu shots, but if you get flu shots and they work for you, go ahead and get one. Shout out to Sister Satana, who is soldiering today, as she's not feeling 100%, but she's here on the ones and twos. God bless you. And that's what you do when you are an executive producer. You make it happen. So you're making it happen. All right. So our topic today, let's go ahead and flip that. Our topic today, brothers and sisters, is something that you're seeing. You're seeing it out these days. Some of the big things that are in the news have to do with Kyrie Irving, have to do with the artist formerly known as Kanye West, and this whole scope of anti-Semitism. Now, why I look at it, I'm going to give you a different perspective, because I've seen this play card, if you will. I've seen the anti-Semitism card played well and played numerous times. And so I'm going to revisit some things. I did a little bit of homework, some of the things that Kanye West were talking about, some of the things particularly Kyrie Irving was talking about. They do have a foundation. They do make sense, but you have to be in a space and have the full knowledge of it. Other than, because if you don't, you're just going to hear the noise. Why he talks about anti-Semitism, why he says I can't be anti-Semite, I can't be anti-Semitic because I'm a Semite. There is something that is deep lurking in this conversation that we're not getting to. And I think today will be a great day to get to it. All right. So I've already talked up a little bit of my time. I want to give a shout out. My brother Yusuf. Yusuf does NFT stuff. Came by the house today, had a great conversation. He's such a good brother. He's like, man, I bought these bikes for you. Now, I was definitely trying to stay away from the bikes. I thought he was talking about, riding a bike, like when you're a kid, and they were motorbikes. And he started showing me, and then the kid of me came out like, oh, that's so cool. And I got on the motorbike, and boy, the way I feel, I hurt my whole left side, and thinking about my whole right side hurting at this point in time. Case in point, I should have never got on the bike, but I did have fun, even up until the point that I fell. So, brother Yusuf, thank you so much for coming past the crib. So we're going to be talking about this thing about anti-Semitism, and I'm going to take us back a little bit. Some of our greatest teachers on the concept of anti-Semitism, who gave us the information, are folks who claim these are the folks who have claimed to be anti-Semitic. Is it being anti-Semitic or is it being anti-information? We're going to be talking that and lots more here on the Shout Out Show. All right, let's roll, Satana. Go ahead and sneeze and get out of your system. But as soon as you finish, let's start the show. And we're back here on the Shout Out Show. So listen, let's go ahead and get into our comment section. These are the people, if you watch the Shout Out Show, and we find that people actually watch the Shout Out Show in Tampa, go figure that out. Fundraiser was getting ready to get up and fundraise. He gave me acknowledgement. Alhamdulillah. He said, I like your show. I checked your show out. I'm like, this is, so you guys are stars. People know about you, Reed, and they know about Brother Altaf and JT, and they know about you guys. Alhamdulillah. I'm happy. So, let me get to our family, because you know we've been off since Thursday. So I want to give a shout out to Mary Moss, better known as Mama San. She said, happy Monday to my SOS family. Happy Monday to you too, Mom. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Always a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you so much for supporting and joining the show. And Sister Reed, what can we tell you about Sister Reed? She is, of course, our dietary specialist, craft services, all those things. But just a wonderful person, all wrapped up in that stuff. I'm going to say assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh to you, Sister Reed. Peace and blessings to you. We appreciate you coming out and just supporting us. It means a lot. And up next, Mr. 6 o'clock, straight up, straight down, our main man, Altaf Rashid. What's going on, Altaf? Not only Mr. 6 o'clock, straight up, straight down, our Canadian envoy to the United Ambassador. He's an envoy. That means his pay grade is a little bit more than ambassador, which means a lot because we ain't paying him anything. But we love you, man. Thank you so much for coming on. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And shout out to my little brother. What's going on, JT? Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Always a pleasure speaking with you, young sir. And let's give a shout out also to Sister Yolanda, JT's wife, my sister-in-law, and of course JT. They got a little touch of the COVID. Hopefully you're feeling better, man. Scratchy throat is gone and the nasally stuff is gone. I made the wire for both of y'all. Make sure you sing that song to Yolanda, because she was singing it to me. Don't get the COVID. See, what comes around goes around. Aha. All right. And we got to get well from Sister Reed. I think that's for you, Sister Satana, telling you to get well. And make sure you check yourself, Sister Satana. Get those COVID tests, because it can slip into something. I'm telling you, it can slip into something. So don't overlook it, okay? All right. Got to shout out my main man. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, brother Eric Carter, man. Hope you had a wonderful weekend. Hoping everybody had a great weekend. Thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate you. And, of course, our illustrious executive producer, that would be Sister Satana Whitfield, who's not 100% today, but she's given 100%. And I think that's important for everybody to know. So, Sister Satana, thank you so much. And we're going to go ahead and jump into our topic today. There's been a lot made about Kyrie Irving and a lot made about Kanye West. The episode with Kanye West, a man who's having a bit of a meltdown, he's bipolar. Maybe it scares people that he's saying these things, but maybe it's because we really don't pay a lot of attention or enough attention to people who suffer from bipolar disease or bipolar mental issues, mental health issues. I think we have to be careful. I say so-and-so might be crazy, but they ain't stupid. Kanye West might be crazy, but the man ain't stupid. If you listen to what he's saying, there are moments of clarity where he's sincere, he's informed, he's intelligent, he's inquisitive. The issue about talking about anti-Semitism and stuff like that, and now you're having these things about he had some type of obsession with Hitler and things like that. It's sad. Of course, but I'm like, this is a man who's been through quite a lot, and I don't make mistakes. I don't make excuses for him. I have sympathy as a person who understands issues of mental health. family, friends. I've seen it before. My profession, I've seen mental health issues. But what I'm hoping is, we give him a second chance and he gets the help that he needs. Some of the things that he talked about with the Jewish community, I want people to understand it may not make sense to you because you haven't been in those rooms before. You haven't been in conversations where people are talking about billions and billions of dollars of business. We don't know what that pressure is. We don't know what the pressure is to get $1 billion. We don't know what the pressure is to keep $1 billion. We don't know what the pressure is to lose $1 billion. There are a lot of handshakes that you never see that affect you. There are a lot of agreements that are signed that affect you. You never saw them sign. This is the nature of politics in the unseen. When I say in the unseen, it means that you may suffer the ramifications of it. You may see the results of it, but you didn't see where it came from. You may feel that this is odd, but why is it odd? Is it odd because you can't fathom it? Is it odd because you can't do anything about it? In the issue of Kanye West, we're finding somebody who can't do anything about it anymore. And the thing, sadly, that he needs to leave alone is the thing that fuels him, which is the public. Sadly, the man can't go anywhere out in the public without somebody sticking a camera in his face or a microphone in his face. And in that space of unwellness, he has to speak and express himself. And people put microphones and they know he's not going to necessarily express himself in a very clear way, in a very clear and accessible way. Even his apologies, people have problems with. But I'm going to say something, and I want everybody to hear. That the attacks on Kanye are not just as a bipolar person, someone that screamed this, they're framing as anti-Semitic. And they have a right to do that. They're framing him as an example. Our next subject will be Kyrie Irving. Now, Kyrie Irving suffers the fact that last NBA season was horrible. He refused to take the vaccine. But this was a policy issue with the New York State Board of Health, and of course the Brooklyn Nets. He was told one thing, and then the policy changed, and he just said, "Wait a minute, this was the policy. I shouldn't have to change this because you changed your policy." And we got that. Let's be honest, the Brooklyn Nets are a mess. But this is the thing that I want you to understand. Kyrie Irving is not stupid. Kyrie Irving went to Duke University. He was the top player in the country in high school. He was so good that he broke his foot at Duke University and still figured out a way to be the #1 draft pick in the NBA. He's a rare individual. He's a reader. Sometimes his intellect gets him in trouble because he's speaking beyond the norm of what everybody's capacity is. And it could be argued that he's a little arrogant at times. We all are. But on this issue of Kyrie Irving, as opposed to Kanye West, this is an issue of somebody who is engaging information. I think there's a problem when we're quick to condemn people who engage information. Kyrie Irving, he engaged a movie called From Hebrews to Negroes. And what comes out of this is he didn't say anything necessarily about Jewish people. He liked parts of the film. Now, people say it has all kind of tropes against Jews and things. Well, you've got to watch the thing in entirety. Everything is not going to be correct in a quote-unquote documentary. Why? Because it's a reenactment. You're going from information. If it was real time, it would be the news. But there's some things that he said that bothered a lot of people. That he was being forced to apologize for what he believed, not for what he said. And the problem of getting him to apologize for what he believed, we don't really know what he believed. We know what we thought he believed. We know what we wanted him to believe because that gives credence to attack this man. I want to give a shout out to my main man, brother Eric. Walaikum assalam rahmatullah barakatuh, brother. I'm sorry I didn't recognize you right off the bat, but I was in my space, man. I hope you had a great weekend, beloved. Shout out to Bilal and Sister Sonia Salahuddin as well. They're normally here, but they're on the love cruise. And I just want to give a shout out to my brother, man. We miss you. And we can't wait to see you come back here. Send some pictures of the trip, man. You're being stingy. But here's the deal about about Kyrie Irving, more so than Kanye West. Kyrie Irving has been on a spiritual journey. It began with him exploring and re-engaging in his Native American roots. His mother was a Native American from a particular tribe. He connected with that tribe. So spiritually, he was in a different place. He took Shahada. Shahada puts you in a different place. He is a new Muslim. And I find that I explore things that may not be popular because I want to understand why they're not popular, but I also want to understand how can I get a better perspective on what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing. Is it annoying to anybody or scared anybody that, he likes a video or he lists a video that he's watching, and that it just blows up in the news? What does that tell you? It tells you people are like watching this guy, trying to figure out what he's doing. They're tied in on Kyrie Irving. But the whole thing of being Semitic, anti-Semitic, is something I have to be careful about. I've been accused, brothers and sisters, of being anti-Semitic. And the crux of being anti-Semitic was simply because I didn't agree with what you were saying. It had nothing to do with religion. It had nothing to do with how I see you. It had to do with how you did business. And somehow, if I didn't like the way you did business, somehow it made me anti-Semitic. This happened when I was with Allah Made Me Funny. I have people that can back it up. Azar's can back it up. That my managers thought I was anti-Semitic because I felt like they weren't doing their job, that they were taking money for work they weren't doing. And I somehow, some way, all of a sudden, I'm anti-Semitic. Why? Because I'm calling you out on not doing your business. Well, it sounds familiar. That people that call True to Light, in any other scope, it's okay. But in this space, sometimes, too often, people are found to be anti-Semitic. Now, I did a little homework. And I found an interview that I thought was really interesting. And I'm going to bring it up. Let me. Satana, can you bring that up? Thank you. Satana's going to bring it up. Okay, we'll both bring it up. Okay. So I want you to watch this. This is an interview from 1990 with Minister Louis Farrakhan and Phil Donahue. Watch this.
Sending to accommodate our format here, after this statement, you'll answer my questions and those of our audience. And why don't you proceed now?
Thank you. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, my dear visitors and friends, and those of you in our television audience, the United States of America, one of the greatest nations in the last 6,000 years, is in grave trouble, not because of the power of a foreign government, but because of an internal rot and decadence that could very well sentence this nation to the ignominy that many of her sister nations have gone to before her. America is in the path of Sodom and Gomorrah, ancient Egypt, Babylon, and Rome. And at the core of this internal problem of America is the unwanted presence of nearly 30 to 40 million Black people who didn't come on the Nina, the Pinta, the Santa Maria, or the Mayflower, but who came in the holds of ships. And from the day that our fathers set the soles of their feet in the Western Hemisphere, our cry has been for justice, and our cry is for justice today. I am not before you to anger you, to upset you. I am before you as an instrument, I hope, of peace, and I hope of reason. As a student of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, I want you to know that I'm not an enemy of America, nor am I an enemy of Jews or white people, and certainly I'm not an enemy of Black people. But I hope you will understand before this is over that I am pro-truth, pro-justice, and I hope for the liberation of our people, and the salvation of this nation. Thank you very much.
He literally has defused the arguments that people are going to give. The problem with Kyrie Irving, and this is the problem with a lot of leaders these days, particularly black leaders, is in the truth, the fight for the truth, the fight for justice, that there are these potholes. And the potholes, because time, technology, the potholes have gotten increasingly bigger. And so when you fall in the pothole, you can't get out like you normally do. People like Minister Farrakhan and the like, they basically have learned, if you don't want to follow those potholes, you don't go down that road. Too often, our athletes, too often, some of our politicians go down that road. And that road is littered with people who are waiting to put you in these potholes, who are waiting to frame you in an argument that you can't possibly win. When we talk about being Semite, being Semite, you're talking about, first and foremost, language, Hameric language, Arabic language. These are Semitic languages. And what we found, brothers and sisters, I talked about it a little bit on Instagram, is the idea of the argument of being anti-Semitic is a racial argument. What do you mean, preach? It's a racial argument. And it's hard for you to win because there are people in the Semitic community who are biased against other people who are in the Semitic community. Thus, if we all claim to be from the Hebrew space, the tongue of the tongue of the Hebrew, the lisp, if you will, of Arabic and Aramaic and all these difficult languages that come out of the Middle East, well, what you're talking about is people who have a shared experience. And when you have a shared experience, one or two things happen. It's either shared or it's shaded. Shared or shaded. Shared is, yes, this is all our story. Shaded is, this is my story, not your story. See, we haven't really gotten to the conversation of anti-Semitism, or Semitism, if you will, because it's a broad thing. There are layers to it. There are layers to it. You have Israel, you have Jews, you have Judaism, you have Torah clarity, you have all these things, brothers and sisters, and it's hard to navigate them. It's literally hard to navigate them. Why? Because no one wants to delineate these folks. I'll give you a prime example. In the early 1990s, I was living in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Minister Khalid Muhammad raised all kind of hell in 93. He talked about Jews bad. Said the Pope was a no good cracker. I mean, he went off at King College. And I mean, it was like rocket fire. Now, this is before, of course, social media, internet, stuff like that. So it was on the news. It wasn't in the palm of your hand. Like, it wasn't like that. And he came to University of Wisconsin, Milwaukee, what was called UW at the time, still is called UW. But he came to University of Wisconsin and Milwaukee. And as a Muslim, I said, well, I'm hearing all these things. I said, let me go hear what he's talking about. Because even then, people were putting it in sound bites. And when I went and listened to him, I didn't agree with everything. But that's human nature. He said, you may not agree with everything I'm going to say. And I'm like, yeah, I might not agree with everything you're going to say, but I'm going to listen. I'm going to have the provocation to give you a space where you can present your ideas. Ironically, he does that. And if you listen to what he was saying, there was a logic to it. He said Jews are bloodsuckers of the earth. Harsh. He could have found another language, but he said these are things that I feel are predatory that are holding the black community down. We're going to have a little bit more about that, brothers and sisters. I have rambled all the way up to the 25-minute mark. I'm so sorry, Sister Satana. Let's take a break and we'll come back right back. You know what, Satana? Don't take the break. Don't take the break. Because we won't have any time left. Let me just continue. While I was there at the event, and I had a little name as a comedian in Milwaukee, someone stuck a microphone in my face. What do you think about it? And this is before, and I said, well, I've heard a lot. I said, but I'm hearing it from different people, different communities, different media. I said, I came here to find out for myself. The moment, hear me though, the moment I got home, the phone rang. And one of my dear friends, her name is Roz Turner. She was a comedy booking agent, beautiful lady. Roz was Jewish. Roz called me, and we had the weirdest conversation. Preacher, I can't believe that you were down there. Oh, wait, hold, what? I can't believe you were down there supporting that. I'm supporting me getting information. But don't you think, and she used the term, don't you think he's a mashugana? And I think that's a Jewish equivalent of a man who's nuts or crazy or insane. Don't you think he's a mashugana? And I said, well, he graduated from Pepperdine University. He has a master's. You know, he does history. I said, no, he's not a mashugana. I said, we may not agree on everything he said, but for the maybe 10% of what I didn't agree with, there was 90% we had all kind of governance. And this was things that we knew and things we said in our communities, in our barbershops, in our churches, in our homes. The thing about Kyrie Irving and as well Kanye West or Ye, whatever we want to call him, is they're being put out now to be made an example. You know, I can remember this same conversation like Kyrie Irving talking to my good friend Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf, who was told me, preached that he had an agreement with the NBA about not going out and for the Pledge of Allegiance. He had an agreement, but a media person realized he wasn't out there, and they started putting pressure on the basketball team, and they told him they broke the agreement and said he had to go out. And even then, he went out. He didn't want to. And he said, I'll just pray. And they crucified that guy. You're going to hear a little bit more from him, from his documentary that's going to be coming out next year on ShOUT. But my point is, it sounds way too familiar. Again, there's a playbook to it. There's a rhythm to it. There's a template to it. You know, in basketball, when people don't want to pay you, they mark down your value. They say you don't run so fast. They say you don't jump so high. They say your jump shot wasn't as wet as it was last year. And by all means, Kyrie Irving did not have a great year last year. He came on in the playoffs. He got hurt. He's had some injury problems. This is about people not paying Kyrie or wanting to pay Kyrie Irving. But you get 2 for 1 now. I'm not going to pay you, but I'm going to make an example to all the other people about what you need to do to get paid. Hear me, NBA. Hear me, NFL. Anybody heard from Colin Kaepernick? No. Colin Kaepernick was gone. He didn't say anything that was anti-Semitic. My point is, the game's the same. If I can make you do what I want you to do, say what I want you to say, you're going to be in the game for quite a long time. You're not going to be happy. You're not going to be an individual. You're not going to be a man. But you exist. People like Kyrie Irving, doesn't matter how much money he has, and he's donated a lot of money. I think they don't talk about that because they all give you one side of it, but he's donated a lot of money to causes, education causes, food causes, WNBA for players who didn't want to play during COVID. He's done all of these things, but nobody's talking about it. Well, I'm happy here on the Shout Out Show that we got a chance to talk about it. And I'm going to tell everybody, take your time and start reading about, really reading about anti-Semitism. Really reading about anti-Semitism. This is a very serious subject. You know why? Because it has so much to do beyond Jews. Anti-Semitism is affecting you. That's it. That's your Shout Out Show. We're out. Satana, feel better. Inshallah, I'll see you tomorrow. I'll be broadcasting from the Mexico. Take care now. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.